Good evening. Merry Christmas. Welcome to our December Parish Council meeting. Thank you everyone for giving up your evening and attending this cold room. This meeting is live on Teams and being video recorded twice a week. Sadly, since the last meeting, because of the ongoing hostility towards our volunteer councillors, we now have 2 more vacancies for councillors. We would like to thank former councillors Craig and Mercy for enduring this for so long and their thoughtful contributions to the community, which I know in both cases they will continue without the side of this council and hopefully with an end to the personal attacks on them. The public record needs to be set straight on something that happened at last month's meeting. Councillor Amber put our clerk in a difficult position by quoting from standing orders, so the form was required when our standing orders do not require one. The council mistake was pointed out the next day by the clerk, and even if the councillor had been right, waiting until the council meeting to catch out our relatively new untrained clerk in public is not how councillors should behave to anyone, let alone treat an employee. The clerk eventually received an apology some 3 weeks later. In terms of those requests for dispensation discussed at last month's meeting, in the heat of the moment there was an error of memory under pressure. We can confirm we were mistaken. The requests were made at the previous meeting, discussed between meetings, and in the text of the agenda item shared in writing during the agenda creation process, not via email. We have all learned that in future dispensation requests should have an email to send. However, EALC have preferred that the motions are still valid. Last Sunday morning, Councillor Amber directed another personal attack, this time at me in an email. Primarily this was a false accusation stating I'd misled everyone at our November meeting about the electricity for the High Street Christmas tree lights, specifically when permission was given and how it was obtained. For the record, I met the owner of the property who gladly and willingly gave permission on Saturday the 1st of November, which was prior to the item even going on the agenda. From what I can understand, the accusations made by Councillor Amber were the result of a tipsy conversation at Saturday's ABBA event, during which the timeline was remembered incorrectly. Rather than check the facts, Councillor Amber sent the email to all councillors making accusations about my behaviour, which was in fact exemplary. Previous councils were dominated by point scoring like that between factions and individuals, along with continuous complaints by councillors and their allies to HR committees or the monitoring. I can understand that those used to that think that that is how it should be done. And I can genuinely say that prior to April 2024, this council was not like that. Let's hope that going forward, the chair won't need to be called upon to report such things in the future. Every one of us that remains on the council and those that come to join us in the new year need to reflect on how we can behave better as individuals and collectively start rebuilding the council's reputation so that in 16 months' time a new council has a better chance of getting on with council business in a more normal environment. It's long past time for the parish to be allowed to start to heal. I realise that will take a long time, but at some point surely everyone must realise enough is enough and it's time to stop fighting. I hope that those that keep stoking hostility realise the damage that they are doing to the community we all live in, and if they value that community, they stop now. Right, the next thing we need to do at this meeting is for the clerk to answer the public questions that are being submitted.
So the first one, Mick Howarth asked, why isn't the parish council's workload spread more evenly across all 9 councillors This would allow the neighbourhood plan to progress. Currently only 3 or 4 councillors are on the council's working groups. The answer: committee memberships are decided by resolution at full council meetings. Councillors cannot be forced to partake, and equally there are unfortunate tensions on the council which affect working relationships and therefore make spreading the load more challenging. Next question. Mick Howarth asked, will the parish council confirm that they will not support any development beyond the 115 units stated in UDC's local plan? The parish council does not dictate the number of houses and would generally prefer a lower number than UDC have allocated our parish. However, we know the local plan needs to be reassessed every 5 years, and at this point we know the numbers will be higher overall as the method of calculation introduced by the government has changed. In addition, Uttlesford is unlikely to benefit from the discount applied for this submission. UDC totals might become academic as UDC is likely to cease to exist beyond 2027. This is less than 2 years away, so anyone claiming a long-term answer from an authority that is likely to no longer exist is being very optimistic. We don't know what authority we will be under or what the new totals will be once they undergo their first housing review, let alone how they will apply them to our parish. Alan Fisher, he's asked a few questions, so I'll do answer and question. The Neighbourhood Plan Steering Committee will be aware that public consultation is a vital cornerstone of a successfully made plan. In view of this, can you please answer the following? Have you received and signed off the final version of the Landscape Character Assessment Survey? If so, have you engaged with Williams to assist in the writing of policies regarding the landscape and local environment? No, we are still chasing. I was reassured on the 2nd of December that it's forthcoming.
Okay.
According to the terms of reference, the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Committee must meet every 2 months at a minimum, and the meeting must be open to the public. The last Neighbourhood Plan Steering Committee meeting was held some 10 months ago. When are you proposing to hold the next one? And there has been nothing posted on the Neighbourhood Plan website since May 2025. When are you proposing to post any reports on progress or minutes of meetings? Since the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group resigned, it was inevitable that work on it was delayed and only compounded with the initial refusals to share the work already done. This has been further delayed by the huge burden JR has placed on the council, which far exceeds just the obvious financial costs. Once the landscape assessment is received, then the clerk can create a full draft of the plan, which will then allow us to get on with it. What exactly have the sorry, that was answering a different question. So that was answering what exactly have the members of the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Committee, consisting of Councillor Strutt, Artis and Beale, actually done to further making the plan, apart from revise and distribute the housing development site survey. The Neighbourhood Plan Steering Committee are meeting on the 16th of December, and the website will be updated accordingly following that meeting. Now that planning permission has been finally granted for the hybrid application for 100 dwellings south of the Flitch Way, is the Parish Council proposing to increase the number of people on the planning working group from the current number of 2, bearing in mind that the failure of the chairman of the last planning working group, the same person as the current chairman, to hold a meeting of the group and engage with Takeley Parish Council to form an objection strategy that could have resulted in this application being refused. There are currently 3 members of the planning working group. Informal discussions were held with Takeley Parish Council representatives who did indeed object to the application. However, they also had a backstop of a small Section 106 litigation as the site was being considered as part of the Takeley area despite being an HBO parish. The developer has also progressed extensive discussions with UDC, which was amenable to the application. The application unfortunately was not able to be stopped despite personal representation to the planning committee meeting by the planning working group chairman. Has the vehicle entrance to the village green been finally signed off as fit for use? If not, why not? All works have been completed and the final highways inspection is due this week for sign-off. Tessa Pemberton asked, I based this question on the 2025 Local Transparency Guide. The Local Government Transparency Code makes it mandatory for large authorities to publish details of all expenditure that exceeds £500, at least on a quarterly basis. Councils may publish spending data more frequently than quarterly. While the minimum threshold of £500 is a requirement, there is nothing to stop local authorities publishing all spending if they wish. The code recommends that local authorities publish spending over £250, but this is not mandatory. Small authorities have a threshold of £100. Councils, neither small or large, usually choose what they do. custom here has been to follow the guidance for a larger authority recording payments over £500 instead of payments over £100, and also information has been published in a timely manner previously. By not following previous good practice, there has been a reduction in transparency. Why has transparency been reduced, and when will the website be updated with information? To not publish the information just increases the lack of trust that the public have with this council. So the answer is from me. We publish a payment schedule at every meeting with all payments of all values, so we are already compliant, even though we are not bound by either code. All financial decisions are taken transparently by a full council or delegated powers. Additionally, all the accounts are available for inspection annually and subject to FOI requests. I am keen to avoid unnecessary administrative tasks in creating a separate log, as I am always over my contracted hours. I disagree that this is a reduction in transparency, as this will be a duplication of information already in the public domain. However, if councillors think this is a good use of my time, then of course I will do this in addition. I have asked the EALC to confirm there aren't any other financial reporting requirements for us beyond our current processes, just in case there is something I'm missing. Chris Chrysostom asked, please can the chairman explain the justification for the spend of over £500 for tablecloths used at council meetings, and explain why wants the chair to answer this personally. So answer from the chair. The ongoing videoing of the council led to over-analyses of the council's legs by the public being an issue, which is appropriate and uncomfortable. For example, it was necessary to protect councillors and the clerk from intrusion at how they sit, which could be due to medical conditions and also from accidental upskirting. At the same time, the opportunity was taken to improve the council's visual image, particularly considering the videoing. When the decision was made, the chair was also acting clerk, so he asked the vice chair for his agreement.
Moving on, we have apologies for our
Apologies to Councillor Hunt and Councillor Parker.
Thank you. Declarations of interest, go around.
An ORI as Director of Broader Community Investments with a dispensation to speak to council meetings.
I'm Director of CRC, so I've got a declaration of interest for that.
Yeah.
I have a DPI in that I am an employee of St Mary's Primary School. However, I would like to point out that I have written advice from the monitoring officer which confirms what I said at the last meeting, in as much as the school payment is minimal and therefore doesn't affect my ability to vote on budgetary matters. Although I will continue, obviously, to not vote on anything to do with the school payments. And I have no other right as I am the Treasurer and Secretary of St Mary's Church.
Oh, okay. So I've got an ORI under the planning discussion for Takeley Street, because my business We Care for Air has loaned some air quality monitoring equipment to measure air pollution at Takeley Street free of charge.
I have a knowledgeable interest in matters relating to the judicial review and another vegetable interest as trustee of the HBO Sports and Community Club. Minutes of the last meeting. Everyone's had the minutes. So, Councillor Ambler, you've got anything to add? Anybody?
No.
Okay. So can I have someone to approve the minutes? Seconder. reports from district councillors. I think we're only for one. Councillor Reeve?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Apologies from Jeff Driscoll, who couldn't make it tonight. Not much going on really to report to this parish. I think one of the things coming up on the horizon, we're going to be having a first crack at it at the cabinet meeting next week, is the budget, and it looks like we've got a balanced budget for the next 5 years, going beyond when we'll no longer be existing. So I think that's about the only highlight I've got to report.
Reports of councillors, actions and meetings attended. No way around. As we were inside the anything from that side?
No, apart from my tipsy meeting, I've got nothing to report, mate.
No.
Like a report on the CRC.
Yeah, you've got to report on the CRC. Obviously, with Labour donated by other businesses.
Sorry, can I ask if we can speak up a bit, please? and
Sorry.
struggle? Thank you.
So next on the agenda is reports from committees and working groups. Have you got anything to report back? I'm not aware of anything. We have an update from the broader community investments.
Yeah, we held a public meeting on the 19th of November. We presented details of the company and its aims and objectives, and that information, that presentation, is now available on our newly constructed website, which has much information on it, including the presentation itself, the articles of association, the details that were supported by Companies House for the application to become a community investment company, and also details of the Community Land Trust as well. At that presentation, we reiterated the 10 affordable houses that were due to be constructed if the application for 66 houses gets approved on the Hammonds Road site by Durkin on Broad Family Land. We also announced the £500,000 voluntary contribution promised by the Broad family and Durkin if that gets planning permission. The company and the parish council have identified a number of possible projects for that money, and they are listed on the website with a request that if anybody has any further suggestions of things that need doing in the village, then they can submit a form or email the company. We had a meeting with UDC the other day, last week, to discuss their allocation policy for affordable housing, and in relation to the proposals by the parish council, which have been worked on and developed by the company to produce a proposal for UDC. That is ongoing, and the company will be further devising an allocations policy, which we hope that Uttlesford will be amenable to.
Can I just clarify the 500,000, which would be an amazing boost for the village, obviously? You said that's a voluntary contribution, so that would be in addition to any section 106 monies?
Yes. Any section 106 monies that are required by Utterness District Council, yes, it'd be in addition to that. So completely separate to that.
So it's completely on top.
On top.
And that's coming from the royal family?
It's coming from from Durkin, but it's an agreement with the royal family and Durkin together.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Committee memberships. The first one is to consider the appointment of a councillor to the HR committee after the resignation of Ben Craig. I've been asked by the HR committee to point out that anyone that wants to join the committee cannot have a current ongoing issue that is on the HR committee's agendas or horizon, and cannot be subject to any recent reprimands about behaviour to this department. So it would be appropriate to look after the clerk from the HR committee. Is anyone willing to come forward? Because we need a replacement member to give us a backup to call, to give you a call. Councillor
Who's on it at the moment?
Councillor Hunt and myself.
Because I was voting for the dog, but I come under the ongoing, you just said there about disputes before, that's why I was kind of removed by the committee. Yes?
I don't know.
Because I asked too many questions. So that means I can't offer my services.
It has nothing to do with asking questions.
I was on it for many years, so you know if there's help needed, I don't mind.
Right. Then we've got a situation where one of those that's applied has got two outstanding things before the committee. The only one that hasn't is Councillor Beagle. So, can I have a proposer in favour of Councillor Beagle being on the committee? Can I have a second vote? With a show of hands, all those in favour? You can vote.
No?
You are right. Reverse. All those against? Okay. Now to vote. To carry that decision. To consider the appointment of a councillor to the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Committee after the resignation of Paul Murphy. There are 3 members of the committee who already got the right some more representation on that committee. Anyone willing to be on that committee?
Yeah, I'm still happy to do it.
Anyone else?
I'm happy to do it.
You're ready on.
Fully committed.
I'm happy to join in if needed, but because I was on the last one, so I'm happy to join in if needed.
Okay, how do we want to do this?
You can all do it. We have some members of the public as well. Official, I think would be quite keen to join.
He resigned very publicly.
I'll join. Doesn't mean you can't go back, does it? You can't go
I'm happy to tell.
So how are we going to do this? Vote per person?
needs clarity. If you resigned, you can't apply again. Is that right? That's written down somewhere. I'm just asking for clarification. I'm a friendly parishioner asking my parish council a simple question about a statement you just made. But if you decline to answer, that's fine.
Right. So the first person put their name forward was Councillor Ambler. Can I have a proposer? And the second for Councillor Ambler.
I propose myself.
Councillor
Oh, okay.
Seconder. Councillor Wood, can I have a show of hands in favour? Show of hands against. For Councillor Webb.
I propose Councillor Webb.
Another show of hands in favour. Show of hands. Show of hands for councillors. Sorry, proposer.
I propose, yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
Thank you.
You can vote.
Against? Okay.
Can I ask what the criteria are for when members of the public are allowed to join the planning committee?
As during the committee meeting,
So that would be then.
cut off people.
There will be there's a meeting proposed for Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Correspondence and key tasks.
So, update from me. First one is the previous clerk applied for a bursary for her Silca fees. So we've had a payment of £650 back from the EALC. The total cost originally I think was about 1,100, so it is the majority we've had back. So that's a nice bonus. The refund, so we accidentally paid for some bin collections in July on the village green, which obviously we were no longer responsible for. That has been sorted out. They're going to credit us for those collections. So the Christmas tree, Councillor Strutty mentioned, has gone up. I'm still chasing, but we still haven't come back with a breakdown, which is what we discussed at the last meeting on the payment schedule. There's potentially a cross-borders meeting of the clerks in January, February, which I'll go to if I'm able to. So that's sort of work for Hamburgers. We get together, so that will be useful. And the monitoring officer has requested an item on the January agenda, just to, she's a new monitoring officer, so she wants to come along and give a verbal presentation to us. I will make sure that's on the agenda.
That meeting you're going to, is that the one that I went to as a representative of the council last week? Is that not the same?
No, it's for the clerk.
It's just clerks.
It's just the clerk of it?
It's just
Okay,
clerks.
so we haven't had one for that?
No, I was going to say, there'll be one for it.
One of the other clerks organised.
Okay. No, it's normally the chairman that's always got organising that one.
I'll find out. I'll check if it is. All the invitations were to clerks. I don't know if it's still.
It's a good opportunity to link up with the other villages.
Do you want to email them, Kevin?
No?
Do you want to email your contacts on that one?
Yeah, I can do.
Highways. To consider UDC's portable BAS sign project. Councillor Stebbins, you asked this for the agenda. Do you want to?
We've had contact from Oxford. There's a project ongoing about trying to improve road safety and trying to put in more accessible VAS. And I proposed to Amy that we looked into it, and I think it was, we needed to look into the cost of a post.
Yes, I've asked them about cost of the post. They haven't come back to me yet, but I think it would be pretty considerable. We'd have to concrete it in. So
Should we defer considering it until we know the cost of the post? And then, what is it? I can't remember, was there a deadline?
there was, I think it's the end of, they just want to know if we're interested by the end of December.
I would say we're interested, yeah.
So we'll have to say we're interested to find out the costs.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll have to budget for it. And whether we can use an existing site.
Yes.
Yeah, we won't mention all that. The next item is the leaning wall in the High Street, where you go across the zebra crossing here, the wall is really black there, so it has been for some time. Previous clerk had written to Highways about it and didn't get anywhere. And I suggest that we try and chase them up at this stage. I don't think there's anything else to do, but see if we can get Highways to come down and have another look. Because that was about 4 years ago, I think it's
4 years ago, I took some pictures.
Yeah.
Got on the phone, I wanted to look at them to see what it was like.
It might be good to compare and see if it's got
To
worse.
see whether it's
Yeah.
worse or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the agenda for doing it, but I don't know.
But yeah, if you could email them, I
Yeah.
think.
I have got those on phone.
Has anyone got any other suggestions other than chasing Highways or?
Yeah, because it's always been who owns the wall, isn't it?
Yeah.
And William doesn't own the wall,
No.
so well, he says he doesn't, so it's obviously Highways. But one part of it's got a tie bar on it, hasn't it? So it's obviously been tried to repair it.
That's our world, isn't it?
Yeah. But the only way you get it done is to say it's our present.
English Heritage Church ownership.
It's the bit beyond the church. The church wall's actually reefed, isn't it? Like the glass.
Starting, but not too bad.
Yeah. By comparison, it's very good.
Good.
So it's in no person's land.
It's, yes,
It's in no person's land.
it's on the bit next to the pub.
Yeah.
There seems to be an issue along that bit as to who owns what. We've had some discussions in church as to who owns it. Maybe it's something we can put in the project for Keith, if we have to.
Yeah, that might be a possibility.
So I'll try Highways first. If we can sort it.
Okay. Are we happy with that? Highways first resort, and then we'll see what they say.
Yeah.
And we'll have another look in the later meeting, once we get a reply.
Is there an email trail from previous clerk?
There is.
There is someone.
Yeah, I've
Somewhere.
dug out. Is there anything else Highways to discuss? Bushend.
Bushing. Ongoing there with David about the defibrillator. We're getting a power supply. So that's moving along. I think now we've got the rural DigiClear out there at Bushend at last. I believe, even though it comes from it took a bit to get the wiring, but that's done now. Interesting to hear a bit more about Bellway Homes and the bit of land they've nicked off of us. But basically they've got the planning for 100 houses, and that is certain now, is it, even though we have objected, have we not? This side of the
Yeah, I mean, that was given approval ages ago. That was given approval ages ago.
Yes, it was objected to, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we objected to it.
Council.
Yeah, we objected to it, yeah.
But it's going to happen anyway.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, on that basis, they can pinch 100 houses, but we don't benefit.
We don't benefit.
No.
We don't benefit either from any contribution from the Sunset Monument
So they
or from the landowner.
So they just take the lump of land, to hell with you lot in Broad Oak. I mean, it kind of underwrites what could happen in our village with all the other developers. I'm not looking at you directly, Pete, I am, because if they've done that
It can
up
happen
there,
anywhere. Yeah, it can happen anywhere.
anything can happen around the village. I mean, that 100 houses should come off our allocation.
They've done it on a settlement basis, and they're not on a parish
Well,
basis.
they'll make up their own rules, won't they? And that'll make me very nervous around the village. I'll probably be dead of leave gone, but the point of the matter is, you know, developers make me nervous. They really do, and that is the highlight. That Bellway Homes, because I did speak to one of them, Bellway Homes, said, you know, you've now joined Dunmo with Bishop Stortford. Once you can build over the motorway, you'll have done it, mate, won't you? But he was a salesman. Well, we need houses. Yep. I'll take the end right now. Anyway, that's push in for you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
You can ask.
So if the settlement, obviously, those houses have been put towards Takeley, at some point, are Takeley going to request transfer of ownership of that land into their,
They already have ones.
they've already done it once?
When we did the objection before, which had it delayed,
Mm.
they said it's likely going to come back in the new year because they're
In
doing
the
a
new
review of all the parish boundaries. So it's going to crop back up again.
Yeah.
And
But then there is precedence in the past.
yeah, so
That's not, that was the reason, because obviously then we've got that previous settlement which Chris is talking about.
Well, you remember that the original application was what, 297 houses or something, which was the whole of that bit.
Yeah.
So, and they halved it to make it more acceptable. And that has been approved.
I mean, those 300 houses you're saying, 300, wasn't it? And they then, because they lost that, they then applied for an agricultural grain store, didn't they? Somebody, same site.
No, that's what it is.
Are you sure?
I think.
Then,
That's satisfying.
Yeah, it's actually down at the farm. Isn't that the one down by the farm?
they wanted a well, there is one down there now, but I understand that it was actually where those 300 houses were planned. I mean, that was all under the auspices of Lord Sugar, wasn't it? Because he owned all that, didn't he? However, they've done what they want. You've got to put all these aside and see it somewhere, haven't you?
Okay. Anything else on the shed? Is that?
No, the shoes is done. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Village, I don't think there's anything particular. Christmas trees are up and there's anything to say on that. Anything else? Recreation ground.
Recreation ground is almost last month, apart from the junior bit of equipment, climbing frame, it's got a rotten piece of timber on it. And I'm chasing Hags to see if we can get it done through warranty. They want me to send 3 copies of our previous reports, and then they're going to come back to us to say whether it was it's still in warranty, and they're prepared to do the work if it is. But it's not really making it unsafe or anything.
So that they want to
Okay,
see
yeah.
our rosters.
Pardon?
Is it the
The
roster?
roster report, yeah.
Okay, well, we've got that. Okay, have you got those?
I've got them, yeah.
You've got the roster.
Yeah.
Next is the public questions policy review. to consider the clerk's suggestions to retain the current procedures but use any time remaining in the 15-minute allocation for standard public participation. Mr. Table, anyone?
I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Next one.
I would personally prefer to revert to our original, or I think what you call it is the standard public participation, and then if there's any written questions, then Amy could perhaps deal with those in her clerk's reports. Just thinking about trying to save time, because I appreciate how long she puts into getting the questions, preparing the answers, etc. As well as, I truly believe that we need to give a platform for public to answer questions in person.
Can I add that I think it was Councillor Craig suggested we re-look at this because he's not here now anyway.
Yeah, that's why it's on the
So yes, so that's why it's on the agenda. I mean, I think it's good to see public. It means we're not invisible, we're here. So to me, back to the original. Let's see the public in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should go back to how it was. I don't think it's been well received within the public, and I think it would help to show increased maybe sort of transparency or communication from the parish council, but so that would be my preferred option, but the suggestion is a compromise with what we have now, which I think is just wrong, really, to be honest.
Okay. So there's a proposal to revert to the original. I think is you have to vote on first, is that right? Go around, because it's effectively an amendment.
Yeah, maybe we want to amend it.
So, can I have a proposal for that amendment? With a second? All those in favour of reverting to the old way of doing it? All those against?
Put your hands up. You get cast in
Carried with the cast and vote.
What was the result of that then? Because you were casting. Which way did you go?
So it was voted against with the cast and vote.
So it's
So now the substantial motion is to vote for the suggestion that Amy has, the clerk has put forward, which is that we continue to receive questions and prepare answers, and then the outstanding time of leave that goes to the more public participation. So a compromise combination.
So we will see the public here then in bottom line. They're willing to invite to come back.
Good. Always invite meetings.
Should we be around the conference?
Right, can I have a proposal for the substantive motion? Second that. All those in favour of the substantive motion? Show of hands.
Go for it.
Okay, and those against?
Can I just ask, I was assuming that we didn't receive any questions, then the whole 15 minutes will be open to the floor anyway. Yeah. Yeah. So there's not really a lot of difference anyway.
Grant, we've had a request from the air ambulance for a grant. I don't know whether previously we've given grants to the air ambulance. I can't just remember. I think it was
It said in the letter that we have, but we can just let the template.
I think we have. But we might be-
I thought we had last
we have a suggestion then for an amount, if people want to give an amount?
Can I just ask a question first? Because I don't know where this lies. So, in terms of giving a grant to the Year Ambulance, which I have no issue with, nothing against the Year Ambulance, but where does that leave us with in terms of any other charities? Can basically any charity approach the parish council, and then how do we choose one against the other?
That's always been the case. We've always had the citizens' rights, for example, come and ask us for money.
Okay.
Most years I think we've given citizens' rights, but not every year.
Could you speak up, please?
Yes, sorry. We've had citizens' advice asked previously, and again this year. We've definitely given citizens' advice on that this year. At the last meeting.
So where does that leave us as far as any grant money around?
There isn't much. Obviously, we are not in a great budget position at present. So
I mean, if we don't use, sorry to interrupt, if we don't use the grant money, is it well over for us? Or that's the end of that year?
If we don't use grant money, then effectively we've got the end of the year what to do
Yeah.
with it, assuming you haven't spent it in some other place.
I haven't seen, sorry,
Yeah. Yes,
So,
so, sorry, I wasn't sure whether you waive or.
if my figures are correct, maybe Richard, but I'm not sure, because I haven't seen an up-to-date budget, but from my calculations, we put forward a budget of 5.5, and from what I can see, we're up to 4,350 against that, with 3 months left.
yeah, that sounds right.
I guess it depends on if we want to put money forward to their ambulance or not.
It is like they ask all parish councils from what I've seen in forums and things, a lot, all seem to.
Well, if we did give any last year, see how much we gave last year. If we did.
In the past, I think we've either given 50 or £100, and we are just proposed to give
Even 100, or if we've got 1150, round it off and do 150. Whatever.
I think the chap, motorcyclist, they scraped off the road just above my house, was pleased because they landed it in the garden, in the field behind me. It was taken away in several bits.
It makes a big difference.
No,
Big
it's,
response times.
yeah, I mean, I think he was well doing before they got there, but I can't say they were correct. So it was a while ago now.
Okay, we've had proposals for 100 and 150. Are we?
If I can work. I think it'd be nice to make a gesture.
What are we going for?
100?
100. Okay, can I have a proposal for 100? All those in favour of £100 for the year? I don't think we've received any other grant applications in between. Did you receive an update from the clerk about the parish survey?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really much to update. I only had one communication from a member of the public, which was about play equipment at rec, which we have our radar. And Councillor Strutt had some suggestions, but otherwise we've not actually had any feedback come in. So it's whether now is a good time to do the survey, or if we do it some other way.
Well, if you want to expedite it through between parish council meetings, the company is quite prepared to put it on its website. You know, as an adjunct, as an addition to whatever the parish council wants to do.
I mean, I can create a survey, it's just, I'm just going to do it.
What, yeah. What questions do you want? What things do you want to find out?
January. Well, the press date is in 5 minutes' time, so if you wanted to... Is it not for this one?
It's not in January.
Okay, forget that. But the company is quite happy to put in the website anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. There doesn't seem to be much feedback or suggestions to go in it other than we recirculate the potential questions and come back.
Let's revisit this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one was to consider producing and distributing an information sheet with a summary of the parish council's activity in 2025 and dedicating this to the clerk in liaison with the relevant committees and the chair. Now, part of the idea of that would be that we distribute it at the same time as the survey rather than going around twice to calling on volunteers to do the delivery. So I'm wondering whether if we want to do that or we defer it to do it at the same time. So defer it to the next meeting and I'll think about whether we do it then. Unless we want to do 2 lots of deliveries.
I would suggest that we leave that to the new year when we're clearer about what's going to be happening with the deadlines that we know are in January. It might make it easier for us to write something. Sorry.
So
So I would say defer.
deferring into January,
Yeah.
okay? Happy with that.
Can it be a bit more broader, Mr. Chairman, so that all councillors get to see it before it's signed off, as
Yeah,
you
sure.
say that,
Yeah, we can't make sure that's in proposed
as the
to the
clerk
next meeting.
with the relevant committees. So I think we all need to see.
Will it be full council approval?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, yes, okay.
Okay, the next is the LGR consultation. To consider the draft response to the LGR is this business of creating unitary authorities, whether we like it or not. So this was, yeah. So basically, Haverford Parish Council welcomes the opportunity to comment on the ongoing local government reorganisation consultation. After reviewing the proposals, we wish to record our overall agreement with the need for the reorganisation currently set out. We do not believe that the case for the changes is demonstrated, nor the anticipated benefits outweigh the disruption and risk to the rural communities such as ours. A principal concern is the potential grouping of Haverford Oak with larger, more metropolitan areas whose priorities, demographics and services differ significantly from those of a rural parish. Our community is distinct in its character, economy and infrastructure challenges, and we are not confident that a more urban focused administrative grouping would adequately represent or support our needs. Should the organisation proceed despite our reservations, we would strongly prefer alignment with the Braintree area, which is more closely matched to our rural profile and community identity. We believe such a grouping would offer greater coherence and ensure more effective local representation. So, anything that you would like to add to that response?
I think it says that all in favour, say thank you.
Yeah, well, that's fine by me. Both that we submit that, but also can I suggest that we also send it as a matter of information to adjacent parishes.
Anyone else that would say?
No,
very helpful for all of us to know what's likely to be coming up, so we can be a bit more informed and hopefully reducing that the time. When it says, then you create the agenda, and then it says items from the chair vice may be added at this point. Is it possible that they could be shared with all of the councillors at that point?
That tends to be like not very long at all before it's published, so I don't think there'd be much value. And generally at that point it would only be, like for example for this agenda we added about the HR committee because Councillor Craig's resignation came in on publication day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of things like that where it's just a simple motion. Things that require a bit of reading would be appropriate to go on at that last minute. That's just because the resignation came in. But yes, if there was something that for some reason was a larger item that needed to go on at the last minute, then they would look good.
And agenda published Thursday or Friday before the meeting. I know that there's the deadline and it could come out, the earlier it comes out from my perspective, the better. And I don't like the idea of working into the evening, so but ideally if it could come out during the day would be amazing.
Yeah. No, it's literally as soon as it's ready it goes. So I always aim for Thursday. But if it's a bank holiday weekend, it has to be the Thursday because the Monday doesn't come.
Anybody?
No.
Thank you. Planning. We've seen an update from the planning working group regarding the planning application for warehouse in Taking Land North of Taylor's Farm. I've printed that out in big for everybody. There's a little map there if you look to where Taylor's Farm is. It's just north of the forest.
Yeah.
That's where the Sylvester family.
So if you've seen that,
Yeah, but
that one.
There's also the bigger units, the units 600 and 700 and unit 500 are going to be 21 metres high.
How high?
21.
21 metres high. Goes to the pitch.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. Units 300 and 200 and I think 100 will be 15.5 metres high at least. So they're big warehouses.
To Manchester Airport now.
I'm assuming they know all
And
about it.
they put in an objection against the buildings near my house because they were getting too high, those new barns. And they're only barely 10. And these are only in their backyard, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's pretty high, isn't it? Brilliant.
They're high. There's an awful lot of car parking spaces there, and a lot of those.
That's the concerns, isn't it?
So
The effect it would have on all of them.
the issue for this parish is the traffic that's it's obviously not in the parish, but it's going to have quite an impact. There's a few hundred car parking spaces there, I would say, I guess, without actually totting them all up, and possibly as much as 100 lorry spaces.
Shall I just say what the planning committee, planning working group said? I mean, you're absolutely right. It is traffic that's a major issue here. I mean, there are some specific elements or issues about this particular application, but you've got to remember that also that I think it's next week the application from Stansted to increase its passenger throughput to 51 million, I think, which although it doesn't have an increase in a number of absolute potential of 22,000 additional road journeys per day, peaking at 27,500 road journeys per day. Coming from all directions, admittedly, but that's assuming the public transport versus personal car use split that is currently the case. And so if you've got 27,000 additional road journeys per day, well, some of those are going to come this way. But if you add it to the car journeys and lorry journeys, bearing in mind these are warehouses, it has the potential, both of those applications, to have considerable traffic implications on the whole area. And remember that, of course, the M11 is only 2 lanes, and it is not unheard of for it to be blocked or closed, which would mean, of course, that for this and for Stansted itself, certainly the percentage of traffic that comes from the south will all come through Broadway. So what the planning working group has suggested is that whilst it's too late to put a specific objection to the Stansted approval, that has already been done by Takeley, and indeed they have a traffic management consultant who is preparing a report for submission to the planning committee. What we suggest is that we have a sort of combined objection for both of those applications on the basis of transport and traffic, and that can be we can quote the figures from the Stansted application, and also add it to the anticipated traffic for this particular development, and register our concerns about that. But what we can do, as I said, for us that's more general, we can also make specific comments about this warehousing application. For instance, height, but we can also, the height of the buildings has already been mentioned, but we can also not only object to it, but should they be minded to accept it, try and get some sort of restriction on traffic direction and traffic movements. Because we would only want this, if it is approved, to be serviced by the A120 or the M11, and certainly not any of the big roads.
Well, junction 7 gives them the chance to come through here.
Yeah, so
it happens a lot. You see the buses.
So that's the recommendation we to write. Well, a general objection about both applications.
At a highway as well, haven't it?
Sorry?
Needs to go to highway.
Yeah. Yes. It's anticipated that highways will not have any objection to the 51 million passengers per annum at Stansted, but nevertheless, I think that needs to be considered by the planning committee. So a general objection to both applications, but with specific comments about this one, which of course we still have time to submit.
Just as a comment for those that know about buildings like this that have recently gone up in Stortford opposite the Coach and Horses pub. Yes, you've seen those, the new roundabout, etc., etc. That went through on the basis that those that use those do not go through Spellbrook. So they've got to come out there, go round the bypass to get to the M11. I don't know whether anyone is realising that yet. So those, they're very, well, not quite as big as this, there's quite a lot of big warehouses, and that was the basis it got planning. They do not go through Spellbrook. So what do you reckon of that? So this could easily follow, could it not?
Yeah.
You can have it as long as you don't, you always come in from the A120.
Well, you'd have to come from the motorway roundabout down the street, because the only road access is on the street. There's nothing towards the A120 unless they've got the next loop along, and then there's a road coming.
that's a good point, and the plans themselves do not show an access coming off or do not show an access being built onto the 120,
No.
which would have been as I said, if it is going to get planning permission, then that should be certainly a requirement.
My understanding from talking to the ladies that live opposite the entrance to this, so they're about here, is that they, whoever they are, but it has been said that the traffic will come off the A120, but of course there isn't an access point from the A120. So there's a lot of misinformation that's been going around about this.
The only access is another field across.
Yeah.
So that would imply that there'd be even more warehouses
Yeah.
before they could do that. Yeah, I mean, the number of car parks is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The access is on this plan not showing from the street.
And even just the employees getting there, so lots of people.
Yeah.
I would also be concerned about the effect on that woodland. I mean, Fire and Wood, there were a lot of scout groups and everything that used that wood, and would that then mean that they could no longer do that and enjoy that sort of outdoors education that is available at the moment?
Hertford Forest are really worried about the pollution as well.
Yeah.
It's an ancient forest, it will be destroying some of the ecosystem from the pollution.
So, has anyone got anything they want to add to the letter into the planning on that? That has already been said.
Yeah, Clark and I can pull that together.
We also asked our district councillors to register our objections and talk to us on that. We're against both.
Could we, so Mr Chair, would it be something that would be helpful with the other local parish councils to let them know that we are what we
Yeah, we are working take on
Remember, there's one national rate on for as well, isn't there? So,
yeah, that's worth actually liaising with them as well. Okay, can I have a proposal for that?
Chair, you did ask me a question, and so
Sorry.
maybe that gives me the opportunity just to contribute. I think you'll find in the local plan there are 2 points to note listening to this discussion to consider in your response. The first is that the access to the site, it's a requirement that it will be to the down onto the A120 M11 roundabout. That's a local plan condition. The second is that the local plan includes access onto the A120 directly by safeguarding a route up to that roundabout, which if you go onto the airport is that little roundabout that you go to above the holding ponds there. The land from there to the site has been safeguarded for road access to the site.
But that's another field across at the moment.
There are a couple of fields you go across, so the road would need to be built, but I think it would be worth highlighting in your response that preference should be made to making use of that access.
And that's the local plan. So
The local plan has taken that into account to make sure that that's safeguarded for that purpose. The developer, though, will have to go about getting the expense and whatever, because it crosses Stansted Airport land. And it's not Stansted Airport land. It's another farmer's land up to that roundabout. So I think it would be worth making those points to support the requirements in the local plan.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the confusing issue, of course, as far as I can see, this planning application doesn't include any additional access from the A120.
No, it doesn't.
It's just purely and simply a development shown with access off the street.
That's correct.
So, one would assume that I can't speak for the planning committee, but one would assume that the planning committee would either reject it or make it a condition of planning that the access is from the A120.
Correct.
You can see on the zoomed out app that there is provision already for the road to go that way at the other end. It's just that into the
And the other point you might wish to add is the fact that when the local plan was made, that was in advance of the Stansted Airport application. So in the local plan traffic modelling, no account was made of the new required or the anticipated required traffic for the airport expansion. In other words, the traffic on the B1256, if I got the names right, will be underestimated at the moment.
Indeed. Yeah.
Thank you. Those policies. There's no proposal for that.
Yeah, did we not just start that?
Did we actually vote on that? I don't think we actually voted.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Proposal, Councillor Arthur, seconder. Councillor Bader, all those in favour? Thank you. The only other plan application we have in is a single story extension in High Street. Do we have anything else? No,
It's in the first cell.
sorry, yeah.
No, it's a single story extension. It's nothing to worry about.
Anyone got anything to say about that? So no comment on that. Okay. Finance. Yep. The item on the agenda is to consider purchasing a daily licence for the park. Cost potentially be split with Stebbing. They don't have as much need for it either. If we would pay the full amount, it's 242.54 per week.
What do you need that for, sir?
For paying agendas, for paying freedom of information requests that are properly redacted.
So redacting is probably the main thing that only Adobe can do. But then yeah, we use it for creating agendas and putting them up on pages together. I can try and warm up Steady to it. They're a little bit less techy than we are.
That's on my favourite Adobe licensing.
Yes.
Can I have any other questions? Other proposer?
Is it 242? Our bit is 242, is it?
Well, we're hoping it will be less. That's
Oh,
the maximum.
Okay.
If we pay for it all.
Okay, I'll propose an amendment to 54.
Can I have a seconder? All those in favour? All those against?
I'll just abstain, thanks, I don't really understand.
Abstaining? One. Thank you, carried. To agreed to Councillor Stedman's request to attend advanced council training through UNLC at a cost of £200. Go around, please.
Yeah, it's clearly necessary. So yes, I'm joking. So I'll vote for it.
I'm just that it came up. Obviously, I know that I haven't been councillor for very long, and any training in my book is useful and can be shared. I checked the budget was 300, so there's
there any other impressions on our training budget?
Potentially some silver things in the year. Costs are not clear at this time. Potentially I should start some modules for the yearish. Information because there's the council does currently as well as the GP.
I'm sorry, we really can't hear either of you two at the front of the
So I
road.
was saying, there may be some modules for the Silca in the new year. I'm waiting to get some costs, but there is a new competitor to the EALC that has recently started, circulated. It's called Council Wise, and it's essentially some EALC trainers that have branched off and made a new company. So much of the material will be the same, basically, and it's the same trainers as well. My other council are very likely going to be switching to them because the chair is one of the trainers at the new company. So, and they don't have legal advice on hand, so that's why I don't think it would be like us that they have such a people. So it'll probably be until sort of January that I'll have an idea of the cost.
So if we spend 250 out of 350, 300, that would leave us with 50.
Yes, we may have to juggle some other budgets around.
So that's going to leave us very short on training.
So we get a refund from
True. So we have had the depends on what you want to do with that.
Yeah, we can put that into training because that was for.
If that 650 was from Silca, then we could earmark that for.
That'd be sensible. Is everyone happy with that as a solution? Okay, can I have a proposer? Can I second that? All those in favour? Carry. Do you have any tree survey budget?
Yes, so I had one come back, so I've asked for 3 quotes. I've had one back from the previous company that we used for £850, that's without VAT. The resulting budget 600, so hence I've not been able to go with it. I am waiting to hear back from one company that Councillor Stedman's kind of sent over that the church have used, and Takeley. I asked some of the clerks and Takeley have given me another option. So I was wondering if we do kind of need to get on with it because it's overdue. So it's whether we could consider basically going with whichever one is best value that comes back. Because I'm not sure if the others will be cheaper. It might be that that's how much it is. And this is just for the Angus Park and the wreck, so it's the bare minimum of what we are.
I would just say the one that's recently done the work at the church got a lot of complaints at the last meeting.
Was it the same company that served?
They didn't tidy up very well
I
at the
think
end.
we're talking about the survey, the people
Oh,
did the
right.
survey, not the actual contractor.
No, the actual contractor.
No, we're talking about the
Survey.
survey, aren't we?
Yeah,
Okay.
the survey. So someone taking both, but
What's the recommendation, Amy?
to basically delegate to me to go with whichever one is the cheapest.
Up to the current limit of 850.
Yeah, so 850, but obviously not going for more than that.
Happy for that.
Do we need to increase what we've allowed for?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah,
That's what I
change.
understand that.
Yeah.
We would allow 600 at the last meeting, and it's come up to 850.
We can say that maximum budget 850 and then obviously offer a good budget.
So to consider a tree survey quote up to 850 for the 2 main tree areas that we now have responsibility for, which are Yannis Park and Recreation Club. Can I have a
Where is that budgeted for?
This is under,
yeah,
Because we've got a position.
yeah.
can I have a proposal, please? So I'll just a second then. Councillor Stephen. I think it's close to the council with. Can I have a show of hands, please? Okay, unanimously. Do you want to do the balances?
Fine. So in the noise account we have £65,220 and 83 pence, and in Unity we have
schedule that was circulated in the background, maybe there are no payments to be agreed at this meeting. Anyone got any comments, questions, that they want to raise about payments?
Can I just ask why payments have been made between meetings? Because we're not used to have scheduled payments which were agreed at meeting then went on to pay.
Yeah, so I mean, with being financial rates, it's resolved that anything up to 2,000 that's in existing budgets can just be authorised between the clerk and the chair. So just been utilising that essentially. That's just how the financial rates are set up. So any payments, like for example, the Burkitt ones last meeting, they're obviously not budgeted, standalone payments. Whereas things like bin collections, the neighbours and surveys, we agreed a budget, I think it was much higher than that, it was like 3,000 we agreed for any sort of expenses. So all of these things are just recurring. Yeah, so the Prince Nave one, that should actually be under the previous resolutions category, so I'll put that in category. But yeah, TVS hygiene and the room hire, they're just recurring ordinary ones under existing budgets. So it's just not anything on this one.
Is it appropriate if I ask about Bradners at this stage?
Depends on what you're asking. It'd be probably a bit cleaner to do it in the judicial review, I would think.
I've got
It's
questions
just
about that.
financial.
Sorry, we really can't hear anything. I don't think that mic is working.
Councillor Steadman just asked me if it's appropriate to speak about the Bradners invoice now, and I've just said it depends on the nature of the question really, but the judicial review item isn't confidential today, so.
Okay, in that case, the invoices that I've seen from Bradners are not itemised, and I wondered if there are any accompanying emails which clarify the work that's undertaken, and if there are, whether that could be made available to councillors and obviously I understand the position, just so that we've all got an overview of what's being paid and what's happening.
Yes, we have got a detailed breakdown from them, and then it'd be up to the judicial review committee as to where you're happy for me to share it, basically.
Yeah,
yeah, we do have
we can review what's on it, and if there's nothing that's not sensitive, then it can be shared.
Shouldn't be on.
Okay, any other questions about the payment schedule? Items for the next agenda. So you have monitoring officers coming, got those things on burns, the survey and the communications.
Bunting on the next agenda.
Bunting, where it's heading the next agenda, that'd be good.
Did we agree that Harlow's thing?
Yeah, when I get back.
Yes, we agree
yes,
that.
I'll put it on
Good.
the
Just to ensure that it don't
No, it's not the next agenda, but we've got them in now and they've got these in there. Date of the next meeting, expected date of the next meeting is Wednesday, 14th of January, unless changed by decision at this meeting. So it hasn't been, so it should be Wednesday, the 14th of January. Next up is the judicial review update, so I will be handing the chair over to Councillor Artis and then I'll come back and close the meeting.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Merry Christmas everyone.
Yeah, that's a good.
We should all be shy.
Okay, let's recommence. There's nothing that we can report publicly about the judicial review at the moment. However, there is a space with the resignation of Ben Craig on the judicial review committee. So it needs one more person to make it quorate. As I suggest that Mr. Webb, who is a member of the working group, join the committee. You get promotion, Councillor Webb, if you will accept that.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say no because as you know, I actually voted against.
Now you voted with it.
I voted against the boost not getting a fair trial. So that's where it's all come from, isn't it?
Yeah, but you. It's entirely up to you. But you did actually.
I voted yes because we need to put the money up. Because where else was it going to come from? So yes, I did vote for that. But as far as the actual, as far as if you remember when we discussed, I was against every motion on that charity venue because I thought.
Yeah, you're rehearsing old issues. The point that I was making, it's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Whether you want to or not, but you did vote to defend the judicial review.
Yes, I did vote.
Yeah, so
it was
that's
a choice.
No, so all I'm suggesting is that you join the committee to defend the JR rather than the working group. It's entirely up to you.
I'd rather not be on it.
Okay.
Rather.
Is anybody else eligible? Amy? Does Councillor Stephen want to join? No? Okay, well let's leave it as it is. It will be unquorate and hence will not be able to make any specific decisions, although the clerk has been given full delegated powers to deal with the judicial review. So all I can suggest is that the existing members are kept informed and asked for any contributions rather than decisions.
Could I ask
Okay.
who are the members of that committee?
Us two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Councillor Hunt was part of it.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. I'll get it.
Yeah, it's a difference.
Right.
Thank you everyone. Wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Meeting's closing.